Hey everyone, this is another, hold on, let me adjust my sound a bit. Okay, I see a few people here online already, so I'll just make sure that everything's working. And the music's not too loud. If anyone can comment if the music's too loud, I'll turn it down. So, what is this? This is another build in public where we actually spend 1 hour building Supabase on a live stream. And yeah, sort of the other goal of this is to show you how to do some open source development if you are thinking about getting into open source, if you want to contribute to Supabase or any other open source. It's just to show you that it's not that difficult and it's not that different from just normal development, and you can just get involved. So for the past few weeks, I've been developing Supabase Studio, which is going to be our locally hosted dashboard, so one that you can self-host yourself, and it's going to be a clone of our official dashboard, which looks, you've probably already seen it if you're dialed into this. It looks exactly like this. If I go into one of my projects where I've got, a bunch of different, I've got a table, I've got a query editor, I've got some auth, a whole bunch of things really. And we're going to clone all of this, and we're going to put it into a locally hosted dashboard that anyone can host themselves and point towards their own self-hosted Supabase instance. So where did we get off last week? We basically had started building, and by the way, there's going to be someone walking past, but they're just picking up their dinner. So last week we basically got all our API documentation at least pulled in, and then actually something quite cool happened last week is that a bunch of people came in and they started making pull requests. So you can see here that someone's making a pull request to my own PR that I've got running, and they're adding in authentication. Now they're doing the UI very well, but the way that they're fetching the data is actually a bit different. They're using some of the they're using the API to fetch the database data. Now that's not how we do it in the backend, because the API itself that we expose on your Supabase project, you can actually restrict it down so that it can't see all the tables, whereas on the dashboard you want to see all the tables and you want to fetch them. So I have just now spent a bit of time, I'll pull it up, where is it? I've spent a bit of time implementing another bit of code that will need to actually integrate with your database over a RESTful API. Now I've added this tool called Meta, and this is Postgres Meta. What this is if I pull it up here, it's a repo that we have, and it's a RESTful API for Postgres itself, for actually managing Postgres. And you can do things like add tables, add roles, all over a RESTful API. By the way, I didn't see anyone comment, so if it's super loud or something's not working, just let me know. Yeah. Okay, so Postgres Meta can do things like, for example, it can get all the columns, it can get all the tables, where is it, tables, and it can even create tables, but it's all via RESTful API. And this is good because we don't have to write all the code into SQL. It's already written here, and we'll just call it over a RESTful API. So I've added this to the Docker image, and now it's exposed over port 1337. If I go here to localhost 1337, 337, then you'll see it's returning. But even better, if I go something like this, tables, and I zoom in a bit, then you'll see it's returning a bunch of tables. Here's one, for example, on the auth schema, the refresh tokens on the auth schema. This one's the auth.users table. So this is all the default tables that we have set up inside a clean Postgres database, a clean Supabase Postgres database. So the reason why I did all this is because it seems like most people want to contribute the UI layer, and what I can contribute in these is the data itself, the data fetching itself. I'm just going to turn my mic down a bit. Okay. So now that we've got this API, what I'm going to do is I'll just make sure that it's working. I'll show you how it works, all the code for it, and then I'm going to merge this person's PR, which is here. They've added the auth. They've started the authentication side of things. So I'm going to merge their PR, and then I'll clean it up a bit, and then hopefully you'll be able to see. We'll be able to get a few things up and running, so that if you're watching and you want to contribute a little bit of code as well, then you can do that. Okay, so you can see they've done quite a bit here on this PR, which is nice. Okay, so first things first, let's show you where we're at. I've added now, what we use on our dashboard is this thing called MobX. If you don't know it, it's a state management library. Hey Alexander. Okay, great. So there's a comment which is great because I'm always scared that I'm streaming to myself, which I have done on the odd occasion. Okay, so what have I got? I've got a MobX store. Now what is MobX? MobX is a state management tool. If you know Redux, it's just like MobX. MobX is just like Redux. It's for managing state across your whole app rather than on individual files. Now, MobX is reactive. It does things like, I'll try find a quick example. Well, here's a quick example. It's very class-based. It's very object-oriented. Then you can do things and you can make changes, and the UI will update itself whenever a sort of observable value inside MobX changes. The UI will automatically change. Now we use this in our dashboard, so I've just copied a bunch of the code over. Whether we use MobX in the local dashboard, well, we'll see, but for now it just makes sense. So what have I got? I've got a meta store, and I've created little stores for each thing. So for example, the table store is just going to it's very object-oriented. The table store does nothing really except extend an interface for fetching data from Postgres Meta. I won't dig too much into this implementation, except to expose some of the API functions that we've got. So here I'm going to go into back to the home page, and you can see here I've got home page. I'll just make this bigger. Homepage, and then there's this one. What is this one doing? It should be doing not a lot, but what I'm going to show you is that code inside the index. Now I've got this thing, use metastore, which is just pulling a MobX store, and then when the page loads, I call meta.tables.load. So I load all of the tables, and hopefully I should be able to do something like I'm going to, well, there it lists out all of the tables, but I'm going to do dot map table. Then I should be able to do something like an h3 for every table dot, oops, I don't know why it's doing that. Return, maybe that's why. Table.name, except this will have to be in quotes. So let's see. Okay, so it's because this tables.list isn't returning anything. Now, why is it not? Let's go const tables equals meta.tables. Now I'm just going to log what this is. Tables. Okay, yeah, okay, so it's actually tables meta.tables.list, I think it is. Meta interface. List. Yeah, it is list with no filter. It's because I don't have, you see it's returning an XMHTP, so it's not actually fetching that data. On my load query, this is doing this.await fetch data. And this should be data. I think it's like this. Okay, now it's getting an array, but it's an empty array, which I don't know why it is, because it should be fetching from, it should be fetching 4 tables. Now let's see, so we've got this data. If I just log data, yeah, see, yeah, it is fetching all these tables, which is great. If data.error, throw data.error, data key by this.identifier should be ID. After that, I should be able to log this.data. Yeah, and there's another thing about MobX is that it is observable. So whenever you're logging something observable, it's got this sort of observables, targets, handlers, things like that. So I'll just go to JS, which is a MobX function, and there you go. So yeah, okay, this.data. Now why is this function load? If this.error equals null, this.state equals loading. Load is fine. So now where is list? I think it's because there is no filter being array dot. So let's log this. What is the array getting called? Yeah, it's a bit strange. Okay. So I believe it could be maybe the way we're using hooks, but this.data key by this.identity. I wonder if I park this one and come back to it after I've merged it. So what I'm going to do is stash all this for now, and we'll merge the PR, and then I'll come back to this once we've got his PR in and working, because he's got some nice mocked up data, and then I'll clean it up after. So what I'm going to do is stash, I'll include in untracked, and I'm going to do MobX store on studio. Okay. Now I'll jump in, so that's cleaned up everything that we had before, and in fact it probably will have, I'll just close it off, close this off, and start this again. Hey everyone, can you briefly tell about your service? Yes, sure. Okay, so for those who don't know, Supabase is an open source Firebase alternative. We provide a bunch of things out of the box to make it very easy for you to develop anything really. So the main thing we provide is a database, which is a Postgres database. Then we provide auth, so you can accept people signing in, signing out. Then we have storage for storing large files like videos and images, audio, anything like that. And then finally, we're about to bring out cloud functions, which means that you can, call external functions. Then, we are an open source Firebase alternative, so we're kind of building the features that Firebase has, if you've ever used it. And we probably won't get all the features. They have a lot of different things, but we're aiming for the key features. And then everything that we do is open source, so you can host it yourself, or you can use our hosted dashboard. So as an example, here is a hosted dashboard. Here is a project. If I come into one of my projects, I have kind of this table where I can see all my data. I can create new data. I can create tables. It kind of looks like Airtable if you've ever used it. I can write, I can see API docs. I can interact with my database. So yeah, for those who don't, can you please let me know that you do provide hosting as well? Also, yes. So this is the hosting. You can sign up and get a project started in a couple of minutes, and it's completely free. Free for a low tier of usage. Actually, very generous tier of usage. And then we have a $25 tier, and then we have a usage tier as well. Yep. By the way, Discord provider in Supabase UI doesn't work. Next just errors out. Yeah, okay. Discord provider in the UI. That's a bit odd. Let me check out. So one of the guys is saying that the auth for one of our providers, we have this, Discord. The only thing is I don't have any, it seems to work here. So Leo or Leo, if you can send through your project details to beta@supabase.io, then we should be able to help you out. Yeah. Thanks. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is this PR, and I'll go through it. I did actually ask for a few changes. So here you can see that Alon710, Alon Barad from Tel Aviv, has done a pull request from his into my feature branch, Feature Studio. Hopefully that's, I might need to make it bigger. There you can see he's updated the README a bit, which is quite nice because he's actually made it easier for people to get started. Then he has created this new layout called auth layout, which just wraps the dashboard layout. Seems like it's quite good. Then he has created this new item inside the navbar. He's used an icon, which I think, well, we'll see what icon he uses soon. Then he's, what has he done here? He's updated the loading with a Supabase logo. That's quite nice, because I just had loading as text. Then you can see he's updated some of these constants to have default values, which is great. He's created a new page called auth, and it really just points towards the API docs. I find this a bit weird, so we'll have to see what this one does. Pages auth. Then he's updated auth policies, which is great. So he's got a few different sub pages, policies, auth settings from lib, fetch, open API. Great. So it all looks pretty good. Let's just merge it in, and then we can go through what it looks like on our own code. And thank you if you're on Elon, because you responded to a bunch of my requests, which is great. You can see, and I said here that I'll merge it in the live stream, so I will. The other thing, Elon, if you're on this call, then do send your details through to Swag. Done. When will you? He's actually already asking. That was 6 hours ago. So I'll say live streaming now. Make sure to send your t-shirt size and postal address to swag@supabase.io, and we'll send you some nice things. So I think anything of this size, oops, you can excuse that, there's a delivery. Anything of this size, we try to make sure that there's some swag, so I'll just send that out, then we'll merge this PR. Great. Now if I jump back to my branch, and I am going to just close this down, you can see now I've got 14 updates to pull, so that's all of his PR. So what I can do is pull all of that. Just to respond to a few of these, Alka, so in short, you also the same database company, just more affordable and feature rich. That's very kind. Yeah, I would say we're more affordable, especially if you make a lot of API requests. Firebase can be very expensive. Feature rich is debatable. We use Postgres, and Postgres itself is very feature rich. So we can do some things that you really can't do on Firebase. And that being said, Firebase is definitely more feature rich than we are. We've only been around for 1.5 years, and they've been developing for a long time, so they've got a lot more than we do. Open source, which allows you to host yourself. Firstly, yes, what is Supabase Studio? It's, if you go back to the very start, you'll see it's the self-hosted dashboard that we're building. Chris, yes, I'm a Kiwi. I'm from New Zealand. If those people don't know what Kiwi means, I'm originally from New Zealand, but I'm dialing in from Singapore right now. Yeah. Also, for those dialing in, if you don't know, didn't see this, and you don't follow our Twitter, just today we actually got the official, we were on Supabase _IO, and now we are on @Supabase, just straight up Supabase. So please do go check out. We just did a tweet about that. If you can retweet that and tell people and stop tagging Supabase _IO, that would be great. Okay, so now I just pulled that PR, and we're going to start this up again, this time on 3000. Chris is a Kiwi too, yeah. Where are you dialing in from, Chris? Okay, that says it's compiled. There we go. Okay, now you'll see that we have a brand new users tab here, which is great. As you can see, it was spinning. It's a bit strange. I wonder if I can slow that down, but it was doing something very odd there. It was spinning the logo. Wow, that's okay. Probably the first thing that I might fix is I don't know if that's definitely to brand spec, so I'm just going to remove that one, and we'll actually fix that loading at some point. So yeah, in fact, what I'm going to do is, well, I'll leave it for now. Okay, so what we've got here now, you'll see he's actually added this section in, which is very cool. Papamoa is late here. Yeah, it's very late in New Zealand. I was looking how to contribute with Supabase and found this was and learn more about and found this was really amazing. Okay, well, you're on the right place if you want to know how to contribute. Hopefully, that's the whole goal of this, is just to show you how to get involved and some of the things you can get involved in. So actually, maybe then, it looks like we've got a bunch of new people this time round. So I'll spend a little bit of time developing, and then I'll poke through all of our repos and I'll explain a bit more about Supabase in a bit. Okay, so here you can see that he's added a few sections, like here we've got the users section. He's even put in a search box. He's got some policies, hopefully. He's mocked it up. New policy. He's really done quite a lot of mocking up. Templates, that's great. Wow, he's really mocked up a lot of stuff. Settings. Now the other thing is that in these settings, you'll see in our settings here that it's got a lot of different things. So we might even split up these settings on the studio, so it will be many different things. Alright, so let's clean up a little bit of his code first. What do we got? We've got under here where is it? Studio. What I'm going to do is just kill this and open just the studio so that we don't have to go through the whole monorepo. npm run dev. Okay. Now you can see under pages, hopefully you guys can see this. If you're on mobile, it might be a bit small. Okay, you can see he's added a few pages here: auth, policies, settings, templates. Yeah, I think actually what we're going to end up with is probably settings all split up into different routes. Then inside here, you'll see that he has some mocked up data, so that's great. We'll just do rename this F2 to be function F2. I don't know why it's doing that. Function F2, because I'm hitting the wrong one. I think my computer's dying because of OBS and Docker. There you go. So we'll just rename that to be mock templates so that we don't have anyone wondering what it is. Okay, so you can see he's going through the mock templates, and then this one is a F2 template. Then here this should be template. He's got a template card, which is reasonable. So he's really just done a lot of mocking up of the data, which I don't mind. I just really like that people are contributing now, and we'll come in and clean this up later on. Okay, then we probably want to rename this one to be templates. Let's see, some other code hygiene that we can do. Here he's doing, I don't know why he's got this, because we don't actually need the OpenAPI spec here. So I believe we can just remove all of this. We can rename this one to be users. We can remove this, fetching. And probably likewise on this one, we don't need to fetch the OpenAPI spec here. and we don't need any of these. Policies, let's check, is he doing the same thing? No, here he is not. Okay, so I'm just going to do a small cleanup of recent auth PR, and I'll put that onto the feature branch. Okay, yeah, I think your MacBook is a little overloaded, your stream is stuttering. Yeah, sorry about that. I should get a better MacBook, I think. Also, I stream everything off my phone, so sorry for for the stutters. Okay, cool. So now he's mocked up a few of these things, and what I want to do is actually get the real data inside here. So here, instead of getting the, well, let's see, he's put a bunch of policies in here which are faked out from the table, but he probably hasn't used the real one. He's also missed a key on these, so we should probably put some keys there. Yeah, I think actually what I'm going to do is leave his PR as is now, and then we'll get people to, anyone can fork the current branch and then improve it. And what we can do is carry on with our part here, where we're just going through here the API docs. You should be able to click on one of these, and you'll see your, you should be able to see, we'll just clean up this code a bit, and we'll have bash snippets and different snippets for, well, I'll show you here on our API docs. Here, for example, is a table, and you'll see that there are different code snippets for each of these areas, and that's what we want to emulate here onto each one of these. I want to actually give a little bit of code snippets, and then we'll be able to switch between these two. So how am I going to do that? I see actually that if you look at each one of these columns, these fields we call them, there's a little snippet attached to them. So let's try do that. First I need to put in this heading here, fields, above that. So I'll come in to API. I don't know why it's called, oh no, that's because it's not API, it's docs, table name. And it should have here the title, then below that it should have the name fields. So we'll add fields here. That's great, fields is there now. Then actually what we have is a little code snippet here for every single one of our fields. So in reality, what we want to do is put, yes, a field here, but then a code snippet. So this one's a select snippet, actually. And I don't actually know how we do this on our dashboard. I'll probably have to look. But we can see that we're just going to have a little bit of code here. So let's just copy this as text. Const select snippet equals. Now if I come here, it's going to be something like this, and we're going to put this inside a little code block somewhere. Where are we going to put it? Something tells me that this field, we need a something like a code block. So what I'm going to do is duplicate, probably inside here we're going to have a code block, div border bottom, then a flex, probably another one of these, And let me just put another div here. Div code block. Okay, so that here is put it in the wrong place. We want to put it on the other side of the screen. Now something tells me that actually I'm going to have to hack around what I've done here. So let's see, we're going to put the code block inside the docs layout, flex 1, hide screen, where is, oh, it's actually inside here, so we need to have the field is actually going to contain this split itself. So let's see, we'll have this flex 1 inside each one of these mappings. Flex div flex 1, move one of these up, and move this up. Then I am going to just wrap that in a little fragment, because the maps don't take multiple things. There you go. Okay, that is not great. Not great at all. I don't know what I did there, but I think it's because now I need to remove this div, which is, or I need to give this a class name of flex. Okay, that's nearly right. Now I'm going to go div, and this one should be flex. And I'll remove this div completely. Still didn't work, because what we want is that I'm guessing we want to put these each in a div so that they scroll down the screen. Gosh, what do we got? I think you know why, because this one should not be a flex. Okay, that's a bit better. We are nearly there. So now we've got this little code block. Should I remove this code block? It should be this little code block here. Okay, and now it's starting to look a little bit more like this, where we've got a code block on the side. And what do we got? Channels, fields, code block. We need to put this little snippet of code. So I'm going to do a const. Let's do this. Dump this in. Okay, that's great. So it's got that little snippet of code. Let's put it inside some typography. Typography.code, I think it is. How do we do code? I haven't seen any. I'll have to go, so we're using Supabase UI, Supabase UI.supabase.com. Then let's go to typography, see how we do code. Okay, typography.text code. Okay, so that is now code, except it should be a multi-line code. I wonder how we're going to end up doing that. Not too sure, but we'll fix it at some point. Okay. Then, finally, note this is a primary key, this is a table, that's great. We want to update what this actual select snippet is. So what I'm going to do is have a const construct. Well, we're going to turn this into a function, which should accept. It's going to accept a well, let's see, the table name, and then it's going to accept in a column name, or columns. Let's call it columns. So table name here, oops, table name, and this one should be columns. Okay, and that one as well should be inside. Or we'll just leave it like that. Inside this. Okay, so this select snippet will now have field dot table name is what? Table here, table name, and field dot name. So now you can see selecting from channels, select inserted at, which is great. If I switch to another table, it says select from messages, ID, inserted at. So this is great. We've got roughly the right structure here. It's not pretty, but it works. Okay, so I'm just going to add that little updates to select snippets. Okay, cool. Okay, so let's see, what time is it? 8:16. Now I promised that I would do one of two things. Actually, I was going to get the data fetching inside the studio here, so that we could actually update this auth section. I think though that's going to take longer than 15 minutes, and that's all the time we've got. In fact, we only have 12 minutes. So because there are a bunch of new people on the stream watching, what I'm going to do is explain a little bit more about Supabase. And I'm going to go through the repos and see, I'll show you how you can contribute if you want to get started contributing. I think that's a good use of our time. So first of all, a little bit of background on the Supabase GitHub. We have Supabase, a Supabase here repo called Supabase, and this has most of the information that you need about getting started. It tells you, explains where everything is, how it works, what Supabase is. Then it has a bunch of the tools that we use, which is quite a lot to get started. In fact, why don't I go through each one of these so that you know how Supabase is structured. Now, Supabase doesn't try to sort of reinvent the wheel. We're not going to build everything from scratch. If we tried to do that, nothing would be scalable. We're trying to use just very scalable tools which already exist. The number one thing is Postgres. Postgres is ridiculously scalable. It's very good. Then we just build these very nice tools on top of Postgres. Everything is centered around Postgres, and when you start a project on Supabase, the project that you get is a full Postgres database. Now, that's important because it's not a schema. You can really do anything to your database. You can crash it, you can ruin it, you can use it for whatever you want to do, but it's really your own database, not shared with anyone else. Then from there, we have these other things, which are GoTrue, which is a auth service, and originally this was created by Netlify, and we have got a fork which works with Postgres, and it allows people to log in and gives you a whole bunch of password and OAuth providers. Then we've got this one, Postgres, and this is a API layer which builds on top of Postgres. So as soon as you start modifying your database, the API updates itself. That's cool because you don't spend time building an API. Then you've got another tool which we create called Realtime. This allows you to listen to your Postgres database in real time. It's a stream of data changes. So if you need to listen to anything that's changing in your database, you use Realtime. Storage is an API for storing large files, blob storage, everything like that. And then pgmeta, which is the one that I was showing earlier in the stream for manipulating your database. Then on top of this, we use an API gateway called Kong, and that's kind of an Nginx server, if you know what that is. It's just for managing all these routes. Now, on top of that, we have a bunch of client libraries, and these are for interacting with Supabase itself. Now, the way that this works, if I come to the docs, Supabase, docs here, you'll see that we've got these JavaScript libraries. So for example, if you want to select any data, you can come in here and do await supabase.fromCities.select. If you want to insert some data, you've got these insert functions. These are all using the JavaScript library. Now, we have officially supported the JavaScript library, but the community are developing all these other libraries. And this is really the best way you can start contributing. If you want to be a developer of one of these different libraries, then you can come in and you can contribute to any of these libraries. And we're actually about to build a formalized program around it. The next thing you can do is we have translated our README in a bunch of different languages. You can come in and contribute a different language if you don't see your one listed here, or if you want to improve one of the existing ones, come in and do that. And then finally, the other thing that you can do, and this will be super useful if anyone wants to do it, is come into our discussions, and this is our forum. And you can see that there are a lot of these sort of unanswered discussions. So here is one. I'll just jump into one. It was asked 27 minutes ago. Someone's asking a question. I'm trying to insert a new user from my front end, but it doesn't work. Then if you come in here and you answer this question, we'll mark your answer as sort of the official answer, and then you appear here on this leaderboard for answering questions. And basically, we're going to build a program around this as well. So if you are answering a lot of questions, we'll invite you into our Discord and our Slack, and we'll send out some swag. This is a super helpful way for us because we're a small team, and if you can actually come in here and help out, then that's quite useful. Yeah. So let's actually jump into one. Here I've set up auth on this clone. Very cool. Looks like they've done it. You can see that someone's answered. Your app looks fantastic. This is Mark. They've answered it. Thanks. Appreciate it. Got it working. Now can insert. Yep, that's great. So this is an answered question now to Mark Berggraf. He's actually a developer at Supabase, so I'll mark it as the correct answer. Then you'll see that he will increase on the rankings here on the leaderboard. So he's not actually on the leaderboard yet. Yeah, very nice to know. Okay, I think now as well, if you've got any questions about how to contribute or things, anything at all, I'll spend the last sort of 5 minutes answering any questions. Otherwise, I'll keep explaining, but fire the questions here, and then I'll answer them towards the end. Okay, the other thing that you can do is submit a pull request yourself to any of these issues. Like for example, Here we've got a lot of different issues. Someone's opened one 29 minutes ago, actually while we're on the stream. So if you have a way to answer this, you can submit a PR or you can actually just answer it. That's super useful, and once again, we'll probably send you some swag if you do that. Then the other thing that you can do is just poke around all of our repos. We have a lot of different repos. So for example, you can see that there are some in Go. You can check out all of the Go libraries. You can check out our Dart libraries. Another way to contribute is to contribute an example. If you come in here, you'll see that we've got some examples. Someone just contributed an Angular example, building a to-do list with Angular and Supabase. But we've also got Next, we've got React, we've got Nuxt, we've got Svelte, we've got Vue. And if you build one of these examples, you can actually come into our docs and you can build this quick start tutorial specifically for one of your examples. And that's also very useful. Thomas is saying, hello, random question. Is there any way to see the SQL statement itself generated by the JavaScript client API? There is, but it's a little bit tricky. So it all happens behind the scenes. And really what is happening is if I come in here to my SQL, I'm just going to create a new query. I think select everything from PG stat statements. We'll just see if we can get one of these queries. It should be something like this. Nope. Storage buckets. Yeah, it's a very long query like this. So you can't actually really see it, but it's all done behind the scenes by Postgres, and that will fetch all the data sources. It'll construct it into a JSON blob, and then it'll return the data as JSON. So yeah, it's a little bit tricky to actually get the data. Jerome's on the call. You are welcome. I'm working on an Angular quick start for user management too. That's awesome. So yeah, actually that was merged today. So make sure you do send your details to swag@Supabase, because we'll definitely send you out some stickers and a t-shirt. Cool. Yeah, so that's how to get your... actually, this is useful in case you don't know. PG stat statements is a extension within Postgres itself. It's turned on for all new Supabase databases, and you can do things like, for example, it'll return how long it takes to return, to execute the query. So let's say mean time. I'm going to do order by mean time descending, and now I can see actually which of my queries are going very slow. So you can see here is one that's going slow. It's doing something about building, select case when JSON type of. I'd have to dig in to what this is doing, but I'd probably export these as a CSV, and I'd look at the data, or as Markdown, and I'd look at this data, and then I should be able to determine what this query is that's taking 1 second. So it's a very long running query. So PG stat statements is going to be one of your best friends for figuring out, what is running slow in your database. Yep. Yeah, you can also order it by the number of calls, calls descending, and that's going to be useful as well. Or you might do something like where calls is maybe greater than 20, so you don't want to do anything, optimize anything that hasn't been called a lot, and then you can see, okay, well, yeah, this one's taking a mean time of 31 milliseconds, I think, so actually it's not too long. Yep. Cool. Okay, well, I think that's all for today. I didn't actually get through much in terms of PRs because I Wasn't very prepared today. But I do want to say one thing before everyone dials off. In about, I think it's 8 days from now, we're going to be doing a launch week where we launch one thing every single day for a week. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So if you want, just follow our Twitter. That is Supabase, just at Supabase. And then, or follow our blog, follow our GitHub, whatever. We'll blast it out everywhere. And we'll be announcing some big things each and every day. So yeah, just tune in for that. And yeah, if you're still on the stream, just subscribe or do whatever you have to do to make sure that you get the notifications. And we'll try to make sure that yeah, we deliver all the good stuff that you've been asking for over the next few weeks. I look forward to that. And yeah, I will see you again one more time before launch week next Thursday. Otherwise, yeah, I'll see you at launch week. Ciao.